Watch out for cash money, cause we landing down. Money making is my thing, cause I'm trying to be rich, trying to put away meals. That's why I'm in the studio dropping hits, dropping rap after rap like you sell key after key. Backed up by the best fresh, dropping beat after beat. My clique is the hot boys, best believe we so high and dangerous and win beef with the whole block. No fading us at all, player, cause we roll too deep. With AKs off safety, knocking busters off their feet. I go by the name WG. I ride on chrome into 98 Lexi S3. I'll bust it down for baby on this B3. Because I know one thing, he'll do the same for me. We family, cash money is the homie, better get a navy. So if you ever play hear me, look here, it ain't gravy. Don't try to knock me, player, cause I'll leave your head stale. Light you up real good, you will never get well. Cash money is the homie, better get a navy. So if you ever play hear me, for you it ain't gravy. Cash money is the homie, better get a navy. So if you ever play hear me, for you it ain't gravy. I got a path that you don't.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. I had to pause so y'all can envision me, bowing my head. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Thank you so much for being here. I ask that you hit the like button on your way in. And shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Really do appreciate it. Another week, another win for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, it feels good to be 2-0. This is something that the Saints haven't been in over a decade. It's amazing, man. But it's good that we're here. We talked a little bit about some of the issues that we thought plagued the New Orleans Saints. Some of the issues when it comes to the offensive line, some of the plays offensively. But we're going to talk about the offensive side of the ball today, and we're going to be talking about the running backs. Of course, pretty sure a lot of you already know head coach Dennis Allen came out and said that Jamal Williams is dealing with a hamstring injury, and it's going to take him a few weeks in order for him to get back. But there are some good reports that are out there right now, and it involves a rookie third-round pick, Kendre Miller. He was dealing with a hamstring in his own right, but is being said that he will be available week 3 versus the Green Bay Packers. So the rookie will be making his NFL debut this weekend in Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers. So that's some good news. But of course, you think about Kendre Miller, and I just mentioned it. He's a rookie. He's a guy that doesn't have that much experience NFL-wise. He's a really good back. He shows some positive things, of course, but we're wondering to ourselves, is that going to be enough? Is that going to be enough? Should the New Orleans Saints go out to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers with the running back room they already have? Now, the Saints have waived running back / wide receiver Kirk Merritt on today. If you're listening to this on a Wednesday, he has been released. But that only leads, if I'm not mistaken, Tony Jones Jr., Ellis Merriweather, who was on the practice squad, and Kendre Miller, the rookie. And, of course, you got to throw in Taysom Hill right there because, Taysom Hill played a huge role in the running game against Carolina. But I'm wondering, is that going to be enough? Should the New Orleans Saints go out and get a veteran running back that is on the street? Now, I came up with a solution, and it was the talk of X. When I posted this tweet about Leonard Fournette, and I asked the question, should the Saints consider Leonard Fournette due to the fact that, the New Orleans Saints are kind of depleted at the running back position. And regardless to Alvin Kamara coming back after this game, you still need some depth at the running back position. You still need a running back that can be able to complement Alvin Kamara. You know, Alvin Kamara is amazing. I mean, he can do so many different things. He doesn't have to leave the field. I think we all know that, but there are times where you're going to need a change of pace. You need that battering ram back to be able to move the chains and also be able to provide Alvin Kamara opportunity to go to the sidelines, get a Gatorade break if necessary, because, you know, even though he'll be back, I mean, he's been out for 3 weeks. And if you add on the fact that the Saints haven't played since January, you have to think about Alvin Kamara's overall conditioning at that particular time. So what do you do? I mean, I thought about some of the running backs that they have out there on the street, and I looked up a few that are available as of right now. Of course, I mentioned Leonard Fournette as the top running back that's out there right now. You also have Darrell Williams, who was with the New Orleans Saints during the offseason and training camp. He's available. He's still looking for a team. I think I heard reports that he was visiting the Houston Texans. You have Kenyon Drake, who is out there. You know, he was with the Indianapolis Colts, but he was released. Amir Abdullah, you know, he played a little bit with the Vikings and with the Raiders. You have Duke Johnson, who's more of a catch the ball out of a backfield type guy. So there's still some guys out there that the Saints, if they wanted to, they can go out there and try to sign. But regardless, you know, it's good to know that Kendre Miller is going to be available. And also you get a lot of positive feeling when it comes to the running back room from what you saw from Tony Jones Jr. against Carolina. Now, it's a completely different beast going up against the Green Bay Packers. Their front is pretty stout. And I know it may not seem that way because, you know, Atlanta was able to run on them. But I just think that people have to understand and open their eyes, regardless if you like Atlanta or not. They have a really good offensive line, probably the best offensive line in the South. And they have a really good running game. So there are going to be a few teams that have a really stout defensive front they're going to be able to run against. I mean, you might not want to hear that, but it's just the truth, folks. But I expect Green Bay to be prepared. Their defensive line going up against the Saints offensive line, nothing about the Saints offensive line has given us confidence that they will be able to handle that defensive front. I mean, we have seen it over the last 2 weeks, no matter if it's a super stout front like the Tennessee Titans or a front that's, you know, kind of questionable as of right now when it comes to Carolina. Teams have been able to get pressure on Derek Carr, and they've been able to do what they need to do defensively when it comes to their defensive line. So I expect Green Bay to be prepared. I expect for them to be motivated. I expect for them to be ready and, you know, being at home for this game. So the Saints are going to have to be ready to be able to, you know, run the football and find ways to do so. But I would love to hear from you. I'm going to go ahead and, you know, open up the chat here, read some of your comments, see what you all have to say in regards to the running back room. What do you think the Saints should do? Are you okay with their running back room as of right now? Do you think they need to sign someone? Just let me know. Says, I hope Miller is a full go. Yeah, he is a full go. According to some of the reports, it's more than likely going to be a full go for this one. TJ, is Kareem Hunt off the board? Yeah, he is off the board. He signed with Cleveland, which I said that I think the last episode. I said he was going to Cleveland was going to sign him. That's not a surprise. He came from them. You know, he was the complimentary back to Nick Chubb last season. Of course, he wanted a payday, but, you know, he didn't end up getting it. So he was still out there on the street. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise for not only Kareem Hunt, but the Cleveland that's been there, that understands your offense. And he can, if he's okay when it comes to his physical health, he should be able to play on Sunday. You know, so that's a good thing. He should know that offense pretty well, being there for the last couple of years before he decided to become a free agent. Strolling down a little bit, says, but that O-line needs to get their stuff straight fast. Yeah, the offensive line definitely needs to improve, Jerry. You know, this is something that is very, very concerning. You know, I understand about the Saints offense as far as the quarterback, wide receiver, chemistry. That's going to take some time. But I'm just concerned about the offensive line because we need the offensive line to be able to protect Derek Carr while he figures it out with the wide receivers. If he's taking these hits, I mean, he's not going to be available very long. I mean, it only takes one hit to knock out your quarterback and him being out or being seriously injured. So we don't want that. We want to see Derek Carr really improve week by week and develop a chemistry with his wide receivers so the Saints can be successful offensively throughout the season. Aaron Jones didn't practice again today. When is the final injury report out? Usually the final injury report is out the day of, the day of, if somebody is going to be, a go or not. But, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the first injury report, comes out today. And then, of course, you can kind of understand the uptick of what can possibly happen based on if a guy didn't practice today, if a guy didn't practice tomorrow, you pretty much know that he's probably going to be out, right? If you don't see limited practice, or you see out on Wednesday, out on Thursday, more than likely they're probably not going to play in the game. But, Aaron Jones is an incredible talent. He definitely would be a huge factor for Green Bay if he's a part of the game. They count on him just like the Saints count on Alvin Kamara. So if he's not in the game, that'll be a crushing blow, especially since in Green Bay, they got a lot of young wide receivers out there, and then you have a young, inexperienced quarterback too. So it's good to have a veteran, a guy that you can check the ball down to in order to make your life a little bit better. So if Aaron Jones isn't available, that'll be a crushing blow for the Green Bay Packers offense. Let's see. I hope the Lions beat the Falcons. Well, I mean, the Lions are a good football team, but the Lions, to me, they remind me, to be honest with you, they remind me of the 2016 Saints. I mean, a team that is a high-powered offense, but they can't stop nobody. Like, their defense is not very good. I think Aaron Glenn is on a hot seat, which he should be. I like Aaron Glenn a lot. I like his confidence. I like the fact of how he treats his men and he holds them accountable, but he's not very good as a defensive coordinator right now. So if he can match the intensity of offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, the Lions would be a really good football team. I still think they're a real good football team, but I think they're defense away from really truly being a contender in the NFC. But we'll see. We've seen the Lions go out there, play tough at Arrowhead, which is a tough place to play. Anybody would tell you that. Going up against the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, pulling off the upset. I know they lost to the Seattle Seahawks last week, but the Seattle Seahawks are a pretty good team. You got to give credit where credit is due to Pete Carroll. He's just a really good coach. He gets those young players. He develops them. I think that goes to his time when he was at USC and he was able to bring talent in and develop those guys into NFL talent. So I don't look at Detroit losing to Seattle like that's just the worst thing in the world. I mean, Seattle was a playoff team. I mean, I know they picked in the top 5, but that was because they made a trade with the Denver Broncos for Russell Wilson. That was a playoff team. And then you have a team that believes in their philosophy of running the football and playing good, sound defense. And, so Detroit, I think they'll bounce back. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a tough game, but it's probably going to be high scoring due to the fact that when I look at Detroit, they're kind of hard to stop no matter what defense you bring there. And defensively, they can't stop anybody. So there you go. It's probably going to be, if I'm a betting man, based on this matchup, it might end up being game of the weekend. Let's see. Absolutely, TJ. We have already seen from last year what happens with injuries and why wait until you are. Yeah, Kathleen, I'm a big believer in learning from your mistakes. If you know that you're driving down the road, and I'm pretty sure people from New Orleans can attest to this. If you know that pothole is in the middle of the street, you're not going to go speeding down that highway, right? You know what I'm saying? You're going to slow down, right? Because one time or another, you hit that pothole and your whole car shook and you almost turned over, right? So you learn from those mistakes. You learn from that, right? So I think the Saints need to learn from their mistakes before they hit another pothole again. I mean, we know that injuries have plagued this team. We definitely want to be prepared. And I think based on the injury history of the New Orleans Saints, I think you should be prepared because you have an opportunity to look at these situations from all angles because one time or another you've been here. So I do feel like, they need to be prepared. I think they were prepared for a possible injury, the way that Taysom Hill was able to come into the game. And a lot of the ways that they lined up Taysom Hill were ways I didn't see. I ain't never seen Taysom Hill like on a toss play. I ain't never seen that. Like, have you ever seen the quarterback, Drew Brees or Jameis Winston, do a halfback toss to Taysom? I mean, a dive play, you know what I'm saying, right up the middle, or a delayed handoff or something, but I ain't never seen a toss play to Taysom Hill. So that showed you right there, they're prepared. But I think that Taysom Hill, because he's so talented and you can use him in a multifaceted of ways, you'll be limiting him to just one particular position by having him just play running back. But based on what I've seen from Taysom, he definitely needs to be utilized in the red zone. I feel like that would help some of the Saints' red zone woes. And also, I think they just need to add Jimmy Graham in the red zone as well. I think that'll help out also. But I do think they need to be able to figure out what they want to do at running back, even when Alvin Kamara gets back, because Jamal Williams was his backup, and now he's not there anymore. Let's see. I hope the Eagles beat the Buccaneers on Monday night. Well, look, I'm going to be honest with you. If they lose, and I'm talking Tampa, if they lose to the Eagles, that wouldn't be a surprise to me. If the Eagles lose to the Bucs, that would be a huge surprise. And I think you would have to concede that they are pretty legit, but I expect for Baker Mayfield to try to take a step back. I ain't never had anything against Baker Mayfield. I wasn't in that category where it said he suck, he stink. I never thought he sucked or he stink. I think that a lot of what happened with Baker Mayfield, he was more of a fall guy. As you can see, Kevin Stefanski isn't all he cracked up to be. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson. I mean, he's a mere shell of himself. I know some people might say, oh, he's been out of the game for 2 years, but that's a talented young man, regardless to how you may feel about him in his personal life. When he gets on that field, he's extremely talented. And now under Kevin Stefanski, he looked like a mere shell of himself. So I think Baker Mayfield, I think there's something there. Do I ever think he will ever be NFL MVP? Heck no. But I do think that he can manage a game and keep a team afloat. And he has. All right. I mean, this team is 2-0 right now. And it's not just because he's managing a game. I mean, Mike Evans went over 100. If they go and they beat the Eagles, I think they playing, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a home game for the Bucs. But if they beat the Eagles, I think you have to concede that they pretty legit. I mean, you may not want to, but you're going to have to. Cool Sports, thank you very much for the $1.99. Says, is Kareem Hunt still available? No, Cool Sports, thank you for the $1.99, but no, he's not available. He got picked up by the Cleveland Browns due to the injury, and I'm praying for this brother, Nick Chubb. And speaking of that, I actually wrote an article on Gumbo Pot Sports that I want you all to check out. It's an article about the running back position and how it's been devalued. So I'm asking everybody to check it out. It's on gumbopotsports.com. Wrote an article about the running back position and how it is devalued and how it's so hard for these guys to get their money. And it just puts everything into perspective when you see running backs like Nick Chubb and running backs like Saquon Barkley, who has been trying to get his money, and now he has a setback. And the next thing you know, you have teams that'll be using this as leverage to try to lowball him contractually. So check it out. 127 people watching this, listening to this right now, so used to being on camera. Ask that you hit the like button right now. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Why wait until your back is against the wall? Well, I don't know. Kathleen, I mean, it's kind of human nature to a certain extent to not be prepared. But I'm definitely on board with your first statement that you made about, dotting your I's and crossing your T's when you actually been through the situation. It's one thing to never have been through the situation, but this team has. And because they have, you would expect for them to be able to be prepared because of it. So I would be, I'll be trying everything I possibly can to make sure that my team stays afloat. But I think, they probably would roll with the guys that's already there because they don't want to, I guess, mess with the chemistry. Due to the fact that those guys have been around. I'm talking Ellis Merriweather, Tony Jones Jr. They have a little bit of rapport with the offensive line, the offensive coaches. The coaches know what they're going to get with those guys and vice versa. So it might be best, but I still feel like you still need a veteran running back with some level of NFL experience that has been in certain situations. I think that what every team needs. I think at every position, I think you need a combination of young guys and seasoned veterans. And I think right now in the running back room, the Saints are lacking those seasoned veterans. I don't look at Tony Jones Jr., even though he's been in the league for 4 seasons, as a seasoned veteran. I mean, this guy's been in the league for 4 years, and he scored his first touchdown last week against Carolina, or on Monday night. I guess this would be considered this week. Yeah, he scored his first touchdown in the NFL. So I don't look at him as a seasoned veteran. I think what the Saints need is a guy who's been there, done that. And that's why I've been advocating for a guy like Leonard Fournette. Think that it would be a good change of pace back for a guy like Alvin. He's a guy that can win those short yardage situations. My biggest concern would be about Leonard Fournette is his overall physical health. Sometimes, I hate to say it, but it don't seem like he takes really good care of himself at times. But if he's mentally ready, physically ready, I would definitely advocate for him. But those would be my conditions, that he's physically healthy and he's doing his best. He's working really hard condition wise to get on the field. Let's see, TJ, did you have us losing to Carolina in your predictions? When I first, I don't know. No, I didn't. I didn't. I had the Saints losing their first game against New England. That was the first game that I had. I think when I was on, I don't know, I think I may have been on Hoodie Show. I think I did a prediction and I was saying that Carolina at that particular time, but that was like really, really, really early in the offseason process. But getting the opportunity to look at the teams and evaluate them and see what they have on the State of the Saints podcast prediction, I had the Saints winning it. But yeah. But I don't have the Saints. I had the Saints' first loss was against the New England Patriots. So as of right now, I'm looking pretty good. Let's see. Here we go again. Problems with the offensive line and run game. Dennis Allen is clueless to coaching this team. He can give Tony Jones and Merriweather some love. Paulie, I don't think the guy is clueless. And honestly, with a 2-0 start, it's not a really good take to have right now, my friend. It's not a really good take to have, to be quite honest with you, man. But look, I understand people's feelings about Dennis Allen, but I'm saying a different Dennis Allen. I'm saying a Dennis Allen that's animated. I'm saying a Dennis Allen that's vocal. And I'm also seeing a guy who has a team looking like his personality. The energy is there. The confidence is there. And look, this man knows defense. Like, I want people to understand this. Like, can you imagine if Dennis Allen this season? I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I know people may not like Dennis Allen. A lot of people still question him as a head coach. I still have my questions, but right now he's having a good run at it. And you have to say some of the things that Sean Payton lacked in when it comes to recruiting talent and getting guys to buy into the same system, he's done a really good job at. I mean, I can think of several scenarios where the Saints needed a certain player that was a free agent, but they just couldn't close the deal. But when it comes to Dennis Allen, I have yet to see a player that the Saints desperately wanted to go after under Dennis Allen, and they didn't get. I mean, they went after Tyrann Mathieu, they got him. They went after Jarvis Landry, they got him. They went after Derek Carr, they got him. I mean, you can say Kareem Hunt, they even got him, but that was more of his agent, renege. I don't want to say reneging, but like overturning his decision. Because, a lot of these players, they listen to their agents, right? I mean, they may want to sign with a team, but the agent might be like, I can get you money somewhere else. So he's done a really good job in that regard. I want people to be very, very careful about using last year's narratives and applying it to this year's narratives. And sometimes, like, we want to be right so badly when we think about it. We want to be right so badly that we completely suspend everything or the positive aspects of what we're actually watching because we're so focused and enamored on what we actually saw before. But what I'm seeing right now, I'm seeing a team that's 2-0, haven't been 2-0 since 2013. I'm seeing a team that has the best defense in football. Yes, I'm saying that. And I'm seeing a team that's ticking in the right direction when it comes to young talent and, also just those guys that they're developing when they're picking them up in the draft. So I think that's what you want, as a fan, as an onlooker, as a person that wants a team to be successful. They're checking all the boxes right now. So I can't really say too much bad. I can't say too many bad things about Dennis Allen as of right now. If I'm saying bad things about Dennis Allen, it's probably because I probably already had that level of resentment for him in the first place, and I'm just waiting for things to fail, which I don't want people to be like that. Like, I want you to be able to judge this team based on what you're seeing right now, because last year is not going to do anything for you besides get you upset at the littlest issues. Green Bay line is decent, but nowhere near as good as Carolina or Tennessee. Miller gets thrown into the fire, not mad at it. Be good to see if he can hold his own this week before Kamara returns. Well, look, they got some talented guys on that defensive line, man. I think that when it comes to Carolina, you can look at Derek Brown. Louisville is a linebacker, but Derek Brown is probably the best defensive lineman they have on the team. Brian Burns is pretty good too. He ain't no slouch. But I think that had a lot to do with the fact that they actually converted from a 4-3 to a 3-4. That was a 3-4 defense that Carolina is trying to run. And we know that if you run a 3-4, it's kind of, your running game is going to kind of suffer a tad bit, But all in all, I just think that Green Bay is a good team. I think they're stout up front. They got some talented guys up front too, man. They got some, some guys that's flirting with all pros up there. So it's not going to be an easy feat. Like, don't just think, they just going to be able to run up and down the field on Green Bay. I'll be shocked if that happens. My guy, ain't this why we drafted Miller? Give him the pill and have Jones break him up. Let's see, we'll be good. Yeah, I mean, it's just one game that we're talking about. And if you also throw in Taysom Hill, David, I think the Saints should be okay. But I'm just thinking about it from a long-term thing. I would prefer to have a veteran out there, in the mix. I like the fact that they had Kendre Miller, but I love the fact that they had Jamal Williams too. Fournette would be a good pickup. I feel like it would be conditional, Brandon. If he's fully healthy and, he's been taking care of himself, I think he'll be a good pickup. But if he's not really together physically, I don't think it would be. But, of course, that's why you have conditioning tests before you sign guys. I'm not making no prediction about this game. I've been wrong the last two. Don't want to be wrong this time. Well, I mean, look, you don't know what you're going to get from week to week offensively, but this defense has been consistent. My biggest concern is if the defense has a letdown game, how will the offense respond? Because it just seems like to me like they're relying way too much on the defense. Like, oh, man, we going to be all right, man. This defense going to get a stop. But what happens if that defense has a down game? And I just think that the offense needs to step it up just a tad bit too. I think they need to step it up. So you really don't know what you're going to get. I don't think that you should wait for a team to get into the red zone, kick a field goal in order for y'all to wake up and start slapping each other in the face and saying, come on, let's play. Nah, man, you got to do it from start to finish. I'm looking for a complete game by this Saints offense. That's what I'm looking for. I mean, and I want to see it against a team that's considered a playoff contender like the Green Bay Packers. I want to see them be able to do that. I mean, them struggling offensively against the Carolina Panthers, who was without their number one cornerback in J.C. Horn. There was a lot of issues. There's a lot of young guys on the team, almost 50% turnover when it comes to changing out personnel. And they struggle for like 3.5 quarters. And, I want to see this team have a complete game. I want to see the defense balling out, and I want to see the offense complementing it. Because if that happens, it's going to be hard to beat the New Orleans Saints. Saints are a running football team, ladies and gentlemen. They have the defense to keep them in games. Carr should not throw more than 25 times per game. Well, look, I don't think that should be the case, but I do agree with you as of right now. the Saints are a better run team than they are a passing team. And, I get it. The modern day NFL, people want to see 50-yard bombs down the field. People want to see all these type of trick plays and, offensive innovation at its highest. But I don't care how you win, like as long as you win, but I don't want to see certain issues that can plague you and prohibit you from winning down the line. That's my stance. I think when people like hear me talk about the team and they say, I talk as if the team lost, it's because I see things that could prohibit them from reaching full potential. And that's what upsets me, because I see that the potential is there. And, you got to make sure that you're actually doing everything you can to win these football games and not getting your own way. And that was the most frustrating thing about watching that Monday night game versus Carolina. Yeah, they won, and, you can be okay with that. But the biggest issue was the fact that they were getting in their own way. It wasn't the fact that Carolina was just that good. Like, they weren't. Like, Carolina is not a good football team right now. Even a Carolina Panthers fan would tell you that. If they are really in the now and they're really dealing with reality, they would tell you they're not a good football team right now. Will they stay like this? I don't think so. But right now they're not. Right. And the Saints got in their own way so many times in that game that it became absolutely frustrating, because that game should have been at least 17-3 at halftime. And that's the most frustrating thing about it. And you do not want to be, one of those teams that it could have been 17-3 against, Detroit, or 17-3 against one of these top teams that you're going to have to go up against. Those teams are going to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. Oh, y'all going to kick a field goal? Let's go down there and score a touchdown. And then you're trying to find your way throwing the football left and right and all that kind of stuff, trying to get back into the game. Why make it hard on yourself when you don't have to? That's my question. I know people want me to not say anything when the Saints win because, they won and everything else doesn't matter. But I hate to say it, it does matter. Let's see. Marcus May just got suspended for 3 games. Why did he get suspended for 3 games? What did he do? Is it because of the DUI situation that he had? Let's see. Lord TJ, they just suspended Marcus May for 3 games. Thank you for the 199. Is this true? Is this true? I mean, I'm live right now, so I couldn't tell you if it's true or not. But actually looking it up right now on X. This is around the NFL. This is a credible source. It says Saints safety Marcus May suspended 3 games for violating substance abuse policy. This also comes from John Hendricks. Shout out to John, man. Guy works really, really hard. Make sure y'all follow my guy, John Hendricks. Says the wording is substance abuse, so that involves Marcus May DUI arrest before he was signed with the New Orleans Saints. So I guess it's because of that whole DUI situation that he was dealing with. But hey, there you go. There you go, man. But I have to say, Marcus May, he was playing pretty well. I know he whiffed on that tackle with Bryce Young, which I can kind of understand when you think about the way they treat quarterbacks. And he did have an interception in the first game against Tennessee. So that just means one of these other guys are going to have to step up. Jordan Howard, he's going to have to come in, and make some plays. And, also you got Lonnie Johnson Jr. out there. You got Ugo Amadi, I mean, it's not all is bad here. They still got some talented safeties out there that can play, and that can provide some help and run support as well. So I think it should be okay. I mean, it could have been worse. Hey, TJ, I'm calling it. Jameis Winston will get time under center for the Saints before this season is over because the O-line will only get worse at pass blocking and run blocking. Sad. I ain't gonna lie to you, Paulie. Run blocking, they look good. They look good run blocking. Like, seriously, like they did a really good job with the run blocking. Pass protection is what plagues them, and that's what they need to get better. Let's see. I don't see it on any websites. Malik, is probably because it just came out. I mean, let me see. I got shouts out to Ross Jackson. Ross reported this on X 21 minutes ago. You have Adam Schefter reported it 22 minutes ago. So I think there you go right there. Adam Schefter don't get more credible than that, right? So You know, it's unfortunate, but you know, it's next man up. It's next man up. Stop it. He is not suspended for 3 games. Jerry, he is. He is suspended, man. I'm sorry to tell you. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, man, but you know, he is definitely suspended, man. Tragic. Let's see. I'm with y'all. Why that decision come down 3 games into the season is puzzling. That is kind of weird. That is kind of weird that they decided to suspend him. Makes you wonder. Like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but the heck with it. You know, makes you wonder. Like, if the Saints started off 0-2, will we be having this conversation? Back up off the ledge. Don't jump. Got legit talent behind him. Yeah. I mean, Lonnie Johnson Jr. is no slouch. Ugo Amadi is no slouch. Jordan Howden, you know, the rookie out of Minnesota, and he showed some flashes as well. So not all is lost. Stop shooting yourself in the foot, Saints. That has nothing to do with the Saints. You know, it had everything to do with the NFL. TJ Boyd, the league said, nah, we can't have the Saints getting off to a high start, so they waited till now to suspend May. Yeah, you know, like try to slow down the momentum. Yeah, I don't like it, man. I wish they would have just went ahead and did at the beginning of the season like Alvin. Let's see. Someone call up Deuce, tell him ice them knees and bring the heat. I think even Deuce would tell you at this stage, nah, I'm good. I'm good in the boot with Mike Haas. Shouts out to both of those guys. They do an outstanding job calling the games on WWL. Says, we 2-0. Let's be happy. Carr needs more chemistry with offense. I think Kamara takes offense to another level. He's only one guy. I mean, he's an extraordinary talent, but he's just one guy. It's going to take more than him. That offense will have to work as a cohesive unit, which they have. You know, if they can play like they play in the fourth quarter, all 3, I think, you know, the games will be over by halftime. Hey, TJ, Dennis Allen is too blockheaded to lead this team to a winning season. He just don't have it from the neck up. They 2-0 right now, Paul. I mean, I don't know if you're working on your commentary or you're working on your act, you know, for week 10. I don't working on your act for week 10. I don't know, man. But right now, this team is 2-0. And it's kind of hard for me to just sit up here and just go after this guy right now after this team has a 2-0 start. Like, this is the best start they had in 10 years, man. So, I mean, wait till at least by week 8, week 9 or something like that. Look at the record. I don't want you to be – I don't want you to – it sounded kind of silly right now. You know what I'm saying? The team is 2-0. I know you may not be a fan of Dennis Allen, and it's well within your rights to do so. But, that – 2-0 is kind of hard to like really say this guy don't know what he's doing right now. When I went back and I watched the games, you see some of the D-line chirping at the offense. I like that cockiness and swagger they really need right now. Yeah, I mean, look, they need that. You know, you hear about Michael Thomas, you know, getting into it with Derek Brown. West Side Crip gang. But, you know, you like that confidence, man. You hear, you know, Mike T. I mean, I'm saying like a different, you know, type of Mike T. You know, Mike T usually like be kind of, you know, soft-spoken and stuff like that. You know, now he talking mad noise. You know what I'm saying? You can tell like he's motivated to play well this season. And I think that kind of radiates off players like that onto the entire team. And these guys want to win, man. They want to win. And I guess they're looking at it like, man, there's nothing that should stand our way from reaching full success except them. And that's the truth. Like, I don't see a team in the NFC that I feel like the Saints, if they were focused and dialed in, they can't beat. You know, I still think there's some teams that do things execution-wise better than them. But I think if the Saints were really clicking on all cylinders, I don't think there's a team that they can't beat in the NFC. I don't care if it's the Cowboys. I don't care if it's the Eagles. I don't care if it's the 49ers, the Vikings, or what have you. This is a good football team. When they're motivated, I feel like they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. It may not be the prettiest win in the world. You may not score 30 points, but you take that defense, you know what I'm saying? I really feel like they can neutralize Dak Prescott. You know, I feel like they can neutralize Brock Purdy. I feel that way. I really do. Let's see. I'm starting the fire Dennis Allen now. This offense is too vanilla to be an elite team to make run at the playoffs or Super Bowl. Well, Paul, I'm going to tell you this, man. I don't think too many people are going to sign that petition right now. Number one is because Dennis Allen is more of a defensive-minded coach than, offensive. You can make an argument to say that he brought back Pete Carmichael, but that would be more Pete Carmichael than Dennis Allen. I mean, the nuances that makes Dennis Allen great as a coach are looking really damn good right now, which is the defense. So, like I said, it's probably going to be hard for anybody to sign your petition based on the 2-0 start, based on Dennis Allen's side of the football, reigning supreme among the NFL right now. So I don't think a lot of people are going to sign it, especially like if you're telling them to sign because the offense is stagnant. It's not his fault. That would be more Pete Carmichael than Dennis. Let's see. Who Dat Nation, thank you very much for the $5. Says, I love the passion for I see a Dennis Allen that's more sure of himself. I see a Dennis Allen that's more confident in himself. I see a Dennis Allen that feels like this is his team. I think last year he didn't feel that way. It was a lot of layover, probably a lot of whispers in the corner saying, I can run this team better than him. But now you got those guys out of here and you brought in your guys that bought into your system. And I think with that, they understand who the captain is and they following suit. So I think that's where the confidence comes from. Why Michael Thomas can't get it going and he's won a one-year prove-it deal will be hard for him to go and get another team if he doesn't be more involved in the offense. What are we, like, Paul, are we trolling right now, man? Are we trolling? Like, Michael Thomas is very much a part of this offense, like very much so. I mean, this man, what he had 7 catches, 55 yards, but if you want to be honest with you, if you take away a 42-yard catch, 45-yard catch by Shaheed and another 43-yard catch by Chris Olave, they flirting with the same stat line. So I don't know, man. I mean, the dude had more catches than all the other receivers on the team, including one of the most incredible catches that you're going to have. I don't know, man. Paul, I don't know if you're working on your week 10 material, man, but right now in week number 3, I don't know, man. I love you, man. I appreciate it. I always see you in the chat and you're always really supportive of the show, but I don't know about some of these takes right now in week number 3, based on what we actually have been seeing over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know, man. Out of respect, I know you're very passionate about the team, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with Michael Thomas, not being an integral part of the offense based on what this offense is looking like right now. I think he's based on what we're seeing. I mean, he's huge. He's a huge part. And I think like once the offense starts to really click, that's when you're really going to see him contribute a little bit more. The State of the Saints podcast, providing the Who Dat faithful and NFL family with up-to-date news. If TJ don't know, the no one knows. Facts. I don't know about all that. Give me all that. A lot of the stuff that I hear, shouts out to all the Saints reporters on the ground. And, some of those guys are, be nice enough and kind enough to, send me a text or something like that if they hear something. So much love to them. But, yeah, they're the ones that's out there burning that midnight oil. And they're the ones that's, creating great commentary. They're the ones that's out there working extremely hard. I mean, I wish I could be out there, but until I am, I'm right here, trying to give you all the best podcasts I possibly can and having fun in the process. Let's see, TJ, what or who would you change on our offensive line to get it better? And who would you sign that's still on the street? I assume that's what you're saying, Jeremy. Who would you sign that's still on the street? Lyle Collins would probably be it. Would be one. Taylor Lewan wouldn't be another. Left tackle that used to play for the Tennessee Titans back in the day. Lyle Collins would actually be another guy that I would be interested in signing. You got a few other offensive linemen that are out there, but those are the two guys that to me that just kind of stands out as far as, probably on the street, you probably can just put in right away and that can give you like instant production without very little hiccups. I mean, even with Eric Fisher, who's out there right now, he'll give you a mixed bag. I don't think. Look, this is your offensive line this season. Who that nation? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just the way it goes. Unless one of these guys end up getting hurt, which is a good thing. Like if you want to be real, at least nobody's hurt. Like at least the offensive line that we have, they gonna be out there against Green Bay. And that's been the biggest issue. You know, the guys haven't been on the same page because they haven't spent a lot of time together because they've been kind of playing tag when it comes to the injury. One guy gets injured and then, you know, the other guy comes back. Then when he comes back, then another guy's out. So the best thing about all this is, you know, you have 2 weeks of offensive line that has been relatively healthy throughout these last 2 games. And around this time last year, you already know it was Ryan Ramczyk dealing with an injury. It was Eric McCoy dealing with an injury. It was Trevor Penny, who wasn't out there at all, you know, dealing with that Liz Frank. So at least they're together. TJ, do you think that A.T. Perry will get some time on the field soon? I think he will, but it would probably mean that somebody is hurt. I think if somebody was to go down, somebody had to miss a game due to injury, that's when you'll see A.T. Perry. But I don't think you're just going to see him right now. I mean, anybody on that wide receiver group that you just feel like could play better? I don't. Maybe, you could probably throw in Keith Kirkwood or something like that, but he's mostly there because he's probably the best blocking wide receiver out of the other ones that are on the bench, you know, like the Shaq Davises, like the A.T. Perrys. They're good, but they're not there yet. And that's one of the main reasons why Keith Kirkwood is still around, because he's the dirty work guy, at least until Traquan Smith comes back. And then, you know, I think that more than likely, then Keith Kirkwood is probably going to be, a healthy scratch or on a practice squad or something, inactive. Anyone else agrees just pay Carl Granderson before the end of the season so we can keep him before he gets scooped up? Well, I definitely agree with that. But you can look at this 2 ways, Joe. I mentioned about Kareem Hunt earlier in the show. Hopefully you were here when I mentioned that. When the Saints were going to sign Kareem Hunt, Diane Rossini was saying it, Adam Schefter was saying it, and it was factual. He was going to sign with the New Orleans Saints. But his agent jumped in and intervened and said, you know what, Indianapolis want to talk to you. That was during the time when Indianapolis was dealing with the situation with Jonathan Taylor, which they still are. But the agent thought that, you know, it would be a good idea. So he left, because of the word of his agent and went to Indianapolis. So what I'm saying is you probably have one of those situations where Carl Granderson, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he have a sack and a half or another sack? So that would put him at 2.5 or 3 sacks this season. So right now he's off to a roaring start. And, you know, his agent probably just think about, whoa, wait a minute now. You know, we probably can get you more money. You know, just hold off on the contract talks right now, because now you're in a precarious situation. Because if this guy gets double-digit sacks, he might end up, you know, pricing himself out of your price range. You get what I'm saying? Like he might price out of your price range. And it might be a Trey Hendrickson situation. But it all depends. I mean, if you look at it, maybe Carl Granderson probably tell his agent, you know, the Saints were there for me when nobody else was, you know, or, you know, saying the fact that he wants to continue to play there. So, I mean, there's a lot of nuances. If I was them, I agree with you, Joe. I definitely would be willing to sign him right now, because based on what I've seen over the years, and this is an outlier. Like if you've been watching Carl Granderson play, you know this is not an outlier. Every time Carl Granderson gets opportunities to play, he was a part of the defensive rotation. Every time he gets an opportunity, he makes a splash play. He shows you that he's out there. So I don't think this is an outlier. Now that he's a part of the starting rotation and he's, having mass production. So I just think that you need to do the right thing. This would be sad that you will have yet another pass rush, go to another team and have them, and you had opportunity to sign them. I mean, it makes me literally sick to my stomach every time Trey Hendrickson get a sack. Like literally, it makes me sick to my stomach every time he gets a sack. It made me feel like when the Saints traded Darren Sproles to Philadelphia in his first year, you were just out there balling out. It just, when you know guys have something to bring to the table and you're watching them on another team when they were an integral part of your team's success, It just makes me sick to my stomach. So I don't want to see that happen with Carl Granderson. Let's go ahead and lock him up. I mean, I know that sometimes pass rushers don't come in the form of the way that you want them to, right? We thought that Marcus Davenport was going to be the successor to Cam, didn't work out. Thought that Peyton Turner would be. It looks like that's not going to be the case. I mean, these guys come in, and they get opportunities and they take advantage of the opportunities. And Carl Granderson is doing that. TJ, what are your thoughts about the second red zone trip on Monday, knowing the Panthers couldn't move the ball on us? Would you have gone for it on fourth at the 5-yard line? Just curious. You never want, I feel like with that type of mind frame, Brandon, that's a little bit of a cockiness right there, and I understand, you want to have a level of cockiness, right? You want to feel like you're better than the other team. I feel you on that. But I think it was the right decision at the time, because even though Carolina couldn't move the football, that is true, my friend. The Saints couldn't do it either. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't get the ball into the end zone. Their offense was just as stagnant as Carolina's was, if you want to be honest with you. Now, some of that was self-inflicted, but nevertheless, because you're not gelling, you're not clicking, things haven't been proven that you can actually score in the red zone. That hasn't been proven. I think they made the right decision. Now, if this was one of those cases, Brandon, where the Saints were in a 75, 80 percentile when it comes to red zone efficiency, I say go for it. But there was nothing that we've seen over the last couple of weeks or the last few drives in the red zone that would give you the confidence that the Saints would be able to score on fourth down, get a first down or something like that. There's nothing that has been proven. So I say go with the points. Now, Brandon, if this maybe 5-6 weeks down the line and the Saints kind of solve their red zone issues and you're starting to see a little bit of an uptick when it comes to red zone touchdowns instead of field goals, I say you make that decision right then and there. But based on what we saw and how things are going far as red zone, I think they made the right decision. Marcus May suspended 3 games. Thank you, Galaxy. I appreciate that, man. I think we've been talking about that, but I appreciate it, man. Would true Saints fans want the big, sexy plays or lose or take the ugly win we have now? Look, I don't know. I think that let me just say this, Charles. I don't blame a lot of NFL fans or Saints fans for feeling the way that they do, because the NFL has programmed us to feel like we have to see offensive fireworks to know that our team is great. And that's not always the case. And you have a lot of, man, I hate to be picking on my 20-year-olds, my late 20s, but you have a lot of, people that age. That's what they've been trained to know. And they really haven't seen, the way the NFL used to be before they start cracking down on the big hits and cracking down on going over the middle and, and all these different things about the quarterbacks and protecting them. It used to be a time where your team wins 17-13 and you out there dancing in the street. The mind frame that people have, Charles, it used to be just like how you feel. And I'm pretty sure because, you wrote that, you're more of the latter, right? You rather take an ugly win than, a pretty loss, right? But that's how modern day NFL fans have been programmed, to see offensive explosion, to see your team putting up 30 plus points. And not to mention, that has been a status quo for 15 straight years with the New Orleans Saints. No matter what the defense looked like, the offense was always high powered because Drew Brees was out there, and you about to score some touchdowns when number 9 is under center. So a lot of people have been programmed a certain way. A lot of people have been following the Saints when that was the status quo. Now we transition to a team that is more defensive driven, more so than offense. And now we're looking like, well, look at Detroit. Not so much this year, but in years past, look at Kansas City. Look at some of these other teams that's putting up all these points, the Cowboys. Why isn't my team looking like this? But there's different ways that you can win football games. I hate to use this example for all my Peter lovers out there, but there's a different way to skin a cat, right? You don't have to go out there and score 30 points a game. in order for you to feel like your team is legit. I feel like this team is legit with a defense and an offense the way that it is right now. Because when the offense gets on board, even if they get on board to a point where they're scoring 23 to 26 points a game, guess what? If you still have that defense out there, you're still going to find success. So I think a lot of people feel like their team's success is defined by offensive innovation, offensive efficiency, and scoring almost every time you get out there. And that's just not the case. Like, it's not the case for many teams. Now, you can have some wonder kid type offensive coordinators that can, come up with game plans where you're scoring a whole bunch of points. And, but if you look around the league, not many teams are doing it. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't have an issue with the New Orleans Saints and how the defense is the catalyst for this team, because we know for years the offense was. And I do feel like at times both sides of the ball need to take turns. They need to take turns. Like, if you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, I don't feel like you should take it for granted because he can erase a deficit like that. I don't. I think that you should try to make it so he doesn't have to erase deficits consistently, because I think that's what happened with the New Orleans Saints. I think that in the 2000s, when it comes to playoff success, Super Bowl appearances, it's because they relied too much on Drew. And they felt like, well, you know what? We got Drew. But now that you don't have Drew anymore, it forces you to be able to, try to win in other ways. And right now, the New Orleans Saints don't have that cerebral quarterback that you can count on to erase deficits, at the drop of a hat. Now you have to have a defense to be able to complement the offense that's struggling. But once again, if this offense starts to get it together, then you're going to have an issue with the New Orleans Saints when you play them on Sunday or on Thursday, So I just think, I have no issue with that. I really feel like 1 year it should be like the passing game. It should be dominant. But next year I should see some nuances of the running game, like showing his head. I should see the defense taking over. And right now what we're seeing a changing of the guards. And some of you Saints fans never seen it this way. I mean, a lot of you, your childhood consists of Drew Brees is a beast. What the hell is wrong with my defense? Like that's been the talk, right? So it's kind of weird looking at the Saints as a grown man, as a grown woman, when you're like 10 and 11 years old, you're watching this offense just go up and down the field. Now it's kind of weird looking at a team that can't go up and down the field offensively, but the defense is just out there wreaking havoc. Like, it's kind of weird, but I'm not mad at it. And I think you should. I don't think any Saints fans out there should be mad at it either. You should actually be excited about this, because as long as these guys can stay healthy, I'm talking about on the offensive side of the ball. I'm talking about your playmakers. I'm talking about Mike T. I'm talking about Chris Olave. I'm talking about Rashid Shaheed. I think we should be cool. And then you also got to add that AK is coming back. So whatever offensive ailments they're having right now, if you're a churchgoer, they used to have a song that says, I'm so glad trouble don't last always. Trouble is not going to last always. So you know that the offensive explosion is going to come, but it comes with repetition. It comes with guys being on the same page, developing chemistry. But in the process, at least you have a defense that can be able to help the offense until they figure it out. So, I mean, sometimes, it's the waiting game is the most frustrating thing about it. The waiting game, the waiting on the offense to improve is the frustrating thing. And sometimes waiting on something, it kind of overshadows the fact that you're winning, because it's not convincing enough, right? I think that's why, some of us Saints fans are kind of on the edge a little bit. We like, I don't know about this. Hey, we winning, but but you want to see the offense take off along with the defense to put your mind at ease, right? It's kind of hard to press that tweet and saying my team is a beast when, hey, you beat Tennessee by 1. Hey, your offense can't score in the red zone. Like, it's kind of hard to hit that tweet and say my team is better than yours, right? It's kind of, it's kind of weird, but I still think that this is a good football team. And consider this, TJ Jones. If we had a quarterback that was efficient, we would be putting more up on the board, and our defense would be on the bench more. Well, I will say this. They're out there, like it's not like they just getting 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Like it's not like that. Like they're sustaining drives. They sustained quite a few drives. Like I don't know what the time of possession was against Carolina. If somebody got some time, if you can actually put that out there, but it wasn't to a point where it's like, man, you know what I'm saying, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, like Andy Dalton mode. Like I used to call them the 3 and out boys. They're sustaining drives. So that tells me like your offense is trending in the right direction. The biggest issue is when you actually are sustaining drives, coming away with touchdowns instead of field goals. I don't think the defense is getting worn down because the offense is out there long enough in order for them boys to get some Gatorade. Problem is when the defense giving you short fields because they're generating turnovers, when they're giving you the ball back because they are creating 3 and outs, you got to be able to go out there and take advantage of those extra possessions if it's a turnover, or when they give you the ball back, you got to be able to get the ball down the field. It's just that simple. But I just think that over time, we will probably see improvements, like depending on if everybody stays healthy. Let's see. My thing is, I hope it don't be too late before the offense gets it together with games coming up against the Lions, Jaguars, Falcons. Those teams can put up points. Tyra, look, I want you to understand this too, and that's a great point. But also, anybody that knows me knows that my minor was theater. I used to minor in theater when I was at Jackson State. So, I used to be a part of plays. But before it was the night of production, we used to do what they call a run through, right? We would go out on stage in full garb, our characters or what have you. You'll have the people that work behind the scenes and crew. They'll be changing out sets and stuff like that. A dress rehearsal, right? Because of what the Saints are going through offensively, this probably is a good thing, Tyra. Because if you think about it, what if the Saints would have started off the season taking on the Detroit Lions, having these offensive issues? Probably would be a very good night for them, because despite the fact that, I don't want to say despite, but the Detroit Lions can put up points. They can put up points. And the defense, they probably will put forth their best effort, but that's a really good offense over there. Like I would, like, as good as the Saints defense is, I would be shocked if they was to like hold the Detroit Lions to field goals. But my whole point is this can be used as like a dress rehearsal. Thank goodness you're going up against teams right now that's trying to figure it out. With Tennessee, that was a whole new offensive line right there. And you have a quarterback in Ryan Tannehill who has the pressure of 1,000 stones on top of him because you got Malik Willis and Will Levis waiting in the wings, waiting for you to fail. Then you go up against a Carolina Panthers team with nearly a 50% turnover in roster with a brand new quarterback who is trying to figure out the speed of the NFL. So a lot of what the New Orleans Saints are actually going through, and because of who they're playing, it's probably best because every single week you get to play teams, you get to look at film, you get to look at your offense, you get to look at what went wrong. Quarterback can talk to receiver can talk to quarterback, running backs can figure out what they're doing, and also the offensive line can figure out what the heck they're going to do. And by the time you actually are reaching your stride, you are playing the Jaguars, you are playing the Lions, and you are playing the Falcons. And that game would be a little bit more competitive than what it would have been in week one when you have a bunch of guys that didn't play in preseason. So this is their first time actually absorbing any type of contact. And this is the first time they're actually using what they learned in practice in real time in order for them to beat the opposition. So it's probably a good thing that you're not going up against Jacksonville or you're not going up against Atlanta right now. By the time you actually get your offense together, you should be clicking on all cylinders. So it's a blessing in disguise that they actually are playing these teams that are offensively inept right now. I hope the slow start doesn't come back to bite the Saints. I don't think so. I think it's a learning curve, and it's coming up against teams once again that the Saints are lucky to be playing at this particular time. Derek Carr in the fourth quarter has outstanding passes. Yeah, I mean, he does. Everett, I think that when you look at Derek Carr, it's probably a good thing that you're actually seeing this right now. You know, I wish once again we would actually see this throughout the totality of the game, but we're not. But it is a positive. It's a silver lining to these dark clouds because we know there's going to come a time where the Saints are going to need a fourth quarter heroic play, and they're going to need some good quarterback play, and he has shown that he can provide that. So that's a good thing. If we want to get real, so to know that you actually have a quarterback that's capable of making a clutch pass or making a clutch play in general in order to set the team up with a field goal that's needed or a touchdown that's needed, that's a positive thing. You answered that perfectly, and yes, I'm 53 and been a Saints fan since Archie. Patience is definitely a virtue. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of us been Saints fans for a long time. We remember the 90s, early 2000s, what have you. And, I look, I'm not saying that to like make it seem like, I'm that type of Saints fan. I know what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is like, it's kind of like the example that I used the last episode. It's like when people, talk about what they would have done in certain eras, that they weren't a part of. You're using it with modern eyes, right? I used the example I said when, during the 50s when things were segregated, like people would talk about, man, if that was me, I would have did this. Nah, you probably would have got seriously hurt or put in jail. You know what I'm saying? So you wouldn't have did that. You would have followed suit. That was my whole point. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're from a certain era, you kind of follow that particular trend. A lot of us, remember when defenses were, reigning supreme. We remember when going across the middle was a suicide mission. We remember like when you used to get a concussion, they tell you get back in the game and give you some smelling salt. Like we understand it. And it's not that we're trying to make it seem like, yeah, back in the day, we were really men were men and women were women. Like, no, it's you have no choice but to kind of follow the guidelines in the eras in which you were consumed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like that's just what it is. Like conceived. You are, you know what I'm saying? You just a part of the era. So a lot of you think, have been programmed to believe that when it comes to offensive efficiency, if your team is not putting up 35, 40 points, then your team is not very good. But a lot of us, remember when defenses reigned supreme, we realized that it's not that bad, because at times there were teams that had really good defenses and their offense was very, very suspect, and they still were able to win games. I can name a few. We can think about the Baltimore Ravens. We can think about the 85 Bears. I think about the Neil O'Donnell-led Pittsburgh Steelers back in the day when they went to the Super Bowl against Dallas. You know about these different teams, and when the defense led the team. And I mean, you can even mention the Legion of Boom, because that was before Russell Wilson really started to get into his prime. I ain't talking about Russell Wilson now. I'm talking about the Russell Wilson, that was trying to figure it out and had some really good seasons. So it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I mean, it's just the way of the world. Like you basically just kind of just follow suit, and that's just your reality. And grandmama, daddy can tell you about the era they grew up in. When you put a quarter down in a payphone, when everybody didn't have cell phones, when stuff like that. We used to have a beep on you. You had to go get a quarter, and please deposit 35 cents. I mean, this sounds funny to some of y'all, but that's just the era that we were in. But some of you didn't have that. But it's okay, because it creates great conversation between generations. If we healthy and we can keep all our key players, we can hang with anybody. That's the only thing been robbing us the last few years. I agree. Yeah, I mean the injuries have plagued the New Orleans Saints. Key players being out and inconsistency at certain positions at key moments. So hopefully the Saints can actually get all that stuff together. I think it's long overdue. I think we all can agree. We want to see what this team can be like when they're relatively healthy. I mean, we know that injuries are going to happen. It's football. But hopefully they don't happen in droves and in legions like the New Orleans Saints have been over the last couple of years. What about Trent Dilfer led Ravens team that won it? I just mentioned that. Yeah, I was saying the 2000 Ravens. Exactly. The 2000 Ravens. Let's see. It seemed like deja vu again from last year offense, TJ. Yeah, it is looking a little bit, stagnant, but they still finding ways to win games and they still making plays when necessary. So with as long as they're doing that, I think we'll be okay. I mean, it's easy. It's better to fix things in a win than a loss. And I know it's only so many weeks we can say that, but I mean, it's just the truth. We need to help Trevor Penning with a tight end. I think that's the issue, Everett, why the tight ends aren't really catching passes. I mean, I could be wrong. I ain't watching all 22. But when you have the tight end staying in to, help with the pass protection, it can take away Juwan Johnson from a play. It can take away Foster Moreau, even though Foster has some really good catches in the game. I mean, it can take away from what the tight ends can do. And I think it may have something to do with why the tight ends aren't an integral part of the offense right now. If Trevor Penning can kind of figure it out with pass protection to a point where he's not really needing a chip or needing tight ends to stay in, I think that's when you'll start to see guys like Foster and Juwan make some plays, So let's see. What up, TJ and Who That Nation? Regardless to how the season turns out, one thing is for sure, next offseason, we got to address the O-line considering how it's looking so far. Yeah, I think I would start with Doug Marrone. I think I would probably change him out, probably get someone else, I don't know, from the college ranks or somebody that you can, probably elevate that's probably already in-house or look around the league. That's why I would start. Because if you look across the line, for the exception of left guard, you're probably going to want to draft one of those. Like you probably want to draft it, or it could be one of those situations where Nick Seldevery steps up. I mean, he played pretty well in preseason, and I'm pretty sure 1 year under his belt, he probably would develop and you'll see what you actually have. So if he actually turns out being pretty good, that would be great, right? But let's just say you want to, see an offensive lineman in the first round. I say draft him. I think that left guard should be on the Saints' radar going into the 2024 draft. I really do. I think that is top priority to me. If you're looking across the board, that would probably be the position that I'm looking at, left guard. You're not going to go after a quarterback unless a great quarterback or a quarterback that has the potential to be great falls in your lap. That's the only way I would say not to draft a left guard. That's the only way I would say that, right? But if you don't have that quarterback, get a guard. I mean, that's top priority in me. I mean, let Andrews Peak go, let James Hurst go. Push come to shove, I mean, Nick Seldevery can be your backup guard, right? Or your backup right guard, left or right, but I think the top priority to me is left guard. It may not be the sexiest pick. I know we want to get the Marvin Harrison Juniors, and we want to get the Shadur Sanderses, but look, if you can get a left guard, a guy, that can, play and, he can be a huge part of what you're doing, I say draft him. Good point, TJ. Let's start from the top. Sometimes you got to look at who is coaching these guys as well, position coaches. Yeah, I think that you start with that because, I mean, basically paid everybody on the right side. I mean, from Eric McCoy to Ramczyk, all these guys under contract, right? Cesar Ruiz just got himself in this extension. You extended Ryan Ramczyk last year. You extended Eric McCoy last year. So No, you extended Ryan Ramczyk the year before, Eric McCoy last year, Cesar Ruiz this year. So to me, I think, based on his injury history, and I think you can get more than what he's giving you. And Andres Pete, I think you let him go. And Trevor Penning is your first round pick. So you got him for another, 3 seasons before you actually have to think about paying him. So you got to, this is your offensive line, Who Dat Nation. I mean, it is what it is. I know some people like, man, we need to get this. This is your offensive line. Eric McCoy isn't going anywhere. Cesar Ruiz isn't going anywhere. Ryan Ramczyk ain't going nowhere. Trevor Penning ain't going anywhere. So the only thing that remains is that left guard. And that's why I feel like the Saints are going to go in 2024 in the first round, because that is the position of need, if you ask me. But I would start with the coaching staff. I would say Doug Marrone, tough outing as the offensive line coach of the Saints. When DC and Ruggs finally clicked on the same page, they were making plays. I can see that for all the wide receivers on the Saints team. Don't worry about the offense. DC has always had a bad O-line. They will improve. That comes from Derek Carr. I mean, Sandy, that may be the case, but you don't want to see this guy getting hit. And then also, man, you want to make sure, and you have presented yourself in a way of, hey, I know where you came from, but we're better here, right? And if that was your selling point, it is not very convincing right now, because he was taking hits in Las Vegas or in Oakland, and now he's taking hits in New Orleans. I mean, the defense was as advertised, and I'm pretty sure that makes him happy because he doesn't have to put everything on himself. But at the same time, like, you don't want to get your quarterback killed. You want him to feel like everything resembles Vegas, right? So I think that you need to fix this offensive line in order for them to get better. But I do agree. I think that it's too early. I think it's too early to tell. And I think that, as time goes on, I think you will see improvements. Jerry says, TJ, thoughts on Jordan Howden filling in? I believe in the kid. He's a leader. He was one of the leaders on the Minnesota Golden Gophers team. He has a lot of really good qualities. He has like really good length to him. He's a good sound tackler. But, I even if he gets activated, I don't think that, it's just going to be him. I think more than likely it's probably going to be Ugo Amadi there, Lonnie Johnson Jr. It's going to kind of just be a little bit of a rotation. I don't think that it's just going to be him out there. I think that the Saints are probably going to, kind of alternate these guys. They're probably going to have Jordan Howden play on special teams and move Lonnie Johnson on special teams, even though I feel like that would be a mistake because Lonnie Johnson has been playing outstanding on special teams for the last 2 weeks. But I think it's going to be a rotation of those guys, not just Jordan Howden. But I think the sky's the limit for him. I think that he had a really good training camp. I think that he made some plays in his opportunities in preseason, but he's still young. You're asking a guy to come in kind of, right off the street, so to speak, and being thrust into the lineup as a rookie. So to not make things so overwhelming for him, I definitely would probably have Lonnie Johnson start the first game. And maybe if I activate him, put him on special teams, kind of sprinkle him in certain packages. But I have confidence in him. But we all know that those rookies can have a little bit of a learning curve. And also, the worst thing about this whole Marcus May suspension is you can see the communication improving in the secondary because these guys understand one another. They've been around each other. They understand each other's tendencies. So the next guy that comes in is a guy that a lot of these guys in the secondary are learning about. So that can be a concern. That's something to be on the lookout for in the game versus Green Bay. But we'll see. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I ask that you hit the like button on your way out. I really do appreciate your time. Be sure to check out the State of the Saints podcast on all streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, a part of Megaphone. You can check out episodes of the State of the Saints podcast on HNSN. Download the app, HNSN app. You'll be able to check out the SOTS podcast over there. And it's just a weekly show that I do talking about the New Orleans Saints, news around the NFL. Also, you can follow me on Twitter or X at TJAYJones8. I really do appreciate you all's time. We will be talking more about the Saints versus Green Bay Packers, keeping you up to date on Saints news throughout the week. And we'll just continue to, work hard to make this offense better. You know what I'm saying? I guess, hopefully they get better. The Saints, I'm pretty sure they'll turn it around, but they got to be ready for a team in Green Bay, man, because Green Bay lost and they're going to be very, very motivated in front of their home crowd. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.